So, welcome to the Blonde and Strong podcast. My name is Shar, and I'm the host. This is a podcast of strength and empowerment, where each episode is dedicated to helping our listeners improve their health, well-being, to learn, grow, and unlock their strength from the inside out. I really felt called to create this podcast just to give a platform to inspirational guests who can share their knowledge, experience, strength, and hope to empower others, to prove that it's possible not only to survive things, but also to thrive. This is done through open, honest, unfiltered conversations and a safe space for people to be raw and powerful through their vulnerability without shame or judgment. So no topic is off limits, as long as it has the intention of empowering the listeners. So for me, as a survivor of an unpronounceable name, teenage migration from Newport Beach, California to the cold, damp northwest of England, epilepsy, a fatal brain tumor, abuse, overcoming depression, anxiety, down to the miracle birth of my daughter and losing my dad by the age of 26. I just know that in my darkest times, it was the courage of others who were willing to bare their souls and share their knowledge, experience, love, and guidance with really gave me the strength to endure through those times. And without their bravery and honesty and compassion, I just wouldn't be alive, never mind recording this podcast today. So now it's my turn to give back. If even one person finds strength and hope as a result of this podcast, then it will all be worth it. Our growth is our own responsibility, and no one can do the work for us, but I truly believe that we're stronger together. So welcome, and thank you for taking the time to listen. Now I want to welcome you to episode 2, and our guest today is Sam Tyrer. Welcome, Sam. He's He is our founder of Change Talks, which was set up to beat the stigma around mental health. He's an award-winning mental health campaigner, public speaker, and endurance athlete. And I know that what he's going to bring today is going to blow everybody's minds.
No pressure.
No pressure. I keep getting that feedback. I like all these people I have on, I view as just like the most incredible people who I know make my life better and inspire me. So I know that they can do the same for other people. So let's play a quick game of this or that, just to let the listeners in get a little insight into who you are, Sam. Okay? Yep. You ready? Mm-hmm. Okay. Don't overthink the answers. First thing that comes to mind. So dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Phone call or text?
Phone call.
Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
City or countryside?
Countryside.
Winter or summer?
Winter.
Connection or isolation?
Connection.
Bath or shower?
Shower.
Good boy. Honestly, I feel like that question right there separates the psychopaths from the normal people.
Do you know, interestingly, I possibly may have put isolation instead of connection. I'm a bit of both, because I quite like being on my own. That's why I do endurance sports. I like my ultra running, so I like just being on my own at one with nature. It switches me off from everything.
I totally get that, but then I also feel like that is still a form of connection.
Yeah.
You're not like... You're still connecting to nature. You're still connecting to like the wider universe, right?
Definitely.
I don't know. That maybe I'm overthinking it, but
no.
Okay.
I was thinking in regards to connection with people, and I thought, do I prefer connection with people? Do I prefer being on my own? Difficult one.
But then your job and everything that you do involves connection.
And that's why I like going to the countryside so much, to be on my own.
That's why you like the isolation.
Yeah.
Okay. IQ or EQ?
EQ.
Love or money?
Love.
Depth or width?
Depth.
And this is a connection. Nice. Would you rather be right or happy?
Happy.
Okay. Amazing. That concludes our this or that.
You
did well. Well, I mean, there's no right or wrong, is there? It's just how everybody's different. But I feel like you can get to know a lot about a person just asking them those simple questions. Like you can tell if someone prefers to be out in the countryside or in the city. Those are two very different people driven by very different things. So yeah. It's funny, though, that everyone that I've spoken to so far has said countryside. Maybe I surround myself with people who love the countryside like me.
I'm sure there'll be other people
Okay.
so the answer different.
Oh, I'm sure. Like someone said tea and bath. Like if someone
So,
drinks
yeah.
tea and they prefer a bath, I they're we probably aren't going to be friends. I don't really.
Coming on.
So, okay, I just want you, you can just tell the people a little bit about your backstory because you have an incredible backstory and it's really gotten you to where you are today. You started off as a nurse, right?
Yes. Yeah. So a
So
bit.
what drove you to that?
So going back, kind of before I did my nursing and everything, when I was younger and in high school, I'll just touch on sort of my personal story, so I can build up to that. I won't go into all the details, but when I was younger, when I was in high school, I was an extremely confident young lad, typical lad, playing rugby and cricket to a really high level. Got involved with the wrong crowd, started doing the wrong things. Didn't do very well in school because I went around with a cocky attitude that I was going to be an athlete. And I got accepted into sixth form college on the basis that I was a very good rugby player. And at college, it's where everything changed for me. I went through a series of events, which basically changed my life completely in a very short period of time. I lost a lot of people I cared about, and there was numerous other personal things that I won't talk about now, but it's really impacted my mental health. So at 17, something just went in my mind, and I ended up suffering extremely badly with depression and anxiety. Talk about it very openly now, but actually at the time, I struggled to talk about it because I was a typical lad's lad. I gained about 7 to 8 stone in weight in comparison to what I am now.
Wow.
Didn't do well in my A levels because I'd just given up. I wrote my name down and walked out. Quit playing rugby. All my sport was gone. And from 17 to 21, basically achieved absolutely nothing. Just developed quite bad social anxiety. And at 21 years old, I basically turned my life around it was from a conversation with my dad, actually. I remember going cycling with him, and every hill that I got to, I had to get off the bike and walk up, and it really irritated me. So he sat me down that night, and he just said, "Come on, open up to me, open up." And I ended up opening up to him for the first time. And I remember him saying to me, no one's going to come and help you. You have to help yourself, which is true in a sense. So from this conversation, I ended up, the first thing I wanted to do was lose weight again because I was sick of being the fat one of the group of lads. Because when I gained weight, people let me know about it, which probably, enhanced my mental health issues at the time. Started exercising. I lost about 5 stone within 4 months, probably not in the most healthy way. And then I decided I wanted to be a nurse. And the reasons being, my nana died under really bad nursing care. And so to be a nurse, I basically had to go back to college to do an access course because I'd done so bad at college and school. And I kind of had the mentality that I was thick and I couldn't achieve anything. And basically my exercise regime mirrored into my academic life, where I then became the highest achiever on my nursing degree. I won 9 different awards. I was invited to a TV show called SES Who Dares Wins at that time. Then I got invited to do a PhD after I finished my nursing, but I had to stop my PhD when I started Change Talks. So I only worked as a nurse for 9 months, and basically I was a gastroenterology nurse. And we were averaging about 3 to 4 attempted suicides a week for a period of about 3 months. And so I decided that I wanted to do something about it because we can either be proactive or I could react to it. And I thought, I want to do something. I can't just let this happen because I've lost to suicide as well. And basically had the idea to create my first event, which was, September 2017. And this event was really successful. For the first event, I was quite blown away, actually. And then I was approached by the local mental health healthcare sector, so Lancashire and South Cumbria Foundation Trust. And basically they asked if I wanted to set something up for children and young people. So I created an educational service to prevent mental health problems, and it's just gone bang. And over the last 3 years, it's just gone from strength to strength, which is just crazy. It's reached over 35,000 young people. I've been fortunate enough to win numerous awards with it, and be invited to do a TED Talk, and I'm now in a position where I just feel, what the heck am I doing? I feel like I'm winging it all the time. But that's kind of that. I tried to cram all that down as much as I can, but that's kind of my journey from point A to point B, with a lot of ups and downs along the way.
Well, I mean, it's an incredible story, Sam. You know, I've known you for, I don't know, I'd say about four or 5 years now. We met on your fitness journey. I was a personal trainer in a past life, and I was friends with your personal trainer, and that's kind of how we met up. And you were developing Change Talks, and you'd started doing the Change Talk seminars, the big group sessions, and I came and did a women's only chat with for you, and it was amazing. I mean, I've seen what you produce and what you're delivering to people, and it really inspired me to, because at the time when I was a personal trainer, very similarly to you, what I loved about what I did was empowering people and being able to see them go from point A to point B with their self-worth, their self-esteem, their self-belief, and watch their lives completely transform. And obviously I'd stopped doing that and gone into a different profession, and I was missing it. And seeing you doing that really lit a fire under me to start doing other things. And I ended up starting my blog really off the back of that. So you were a real inspiration to me, because when I got to share my story and it resonated with so many people, you know, in that room, there was like 300 women. And it was the first time I'd gotten up and done any real public speaking like that, sharing some really vulnerable parts of my life. And there was such a positive response to it. And I just thought, you know what? This is something that needs to be done. We need to get out there and be talking to people and let them know that they're not alone, that all of this stuff is going on. And even though we all have different things going on for us, we're all dealing with shit. Like, that's just the way it is. And we can help support each other just by knowing that we're not alone. You know, you said that what really drove you was, as a nurse, being a gastroenterology nurse and seeing the person at that far end, you know, once they've gone through all the crap that they've gone through and they've decided that they have no other way out but then to attempt to take their own life. And you were dealing with the symptom of that, right? You were dealing with the symptoms and trying to treat the symptoms as opposed to treating the actual cause. And it's just incredible that in that moment you were just like, I don't want to treat the symptoms. I don't want to treat the after effects. I want to get to the root of the problem. I want to get them at the cause at the beginning. If we can change the cause, we can change the effect. That proactive approach is what makes you different to other people. And I love that. And the work that you do delivering in schools is just, you know, next level. And I know at the moment you're doing the mental health family hour while we're all on lockdown with Dave as well. And how's that been going for you?
Well, you know, it's blown me away. It was just adapting to the situation. You know, we could easily sit there thinking, oh, I can't do this now, I can't do that. We're just thinking about what can we do. So I had the idea to create basically a free online webinar for anyone to access on a weekly basis, put it to Dave, and, you know, within 10 days, bang, it was out there. And the first episode itself, I think, it's 2,600 people have watched it, which is fantastic. So, you know, we're getting people tuning in regularly to the weekly ones, and it just seems to be growing and growing and growing. It's just, I think quite frequently we can spend too much time, you know, saying, oh, this needs to be done or that needs to be done, instead of just doing it. Just let's just get on with it. Or, you know, when I mentioned about being proactive instead of reactive, I could have easily on the ward said something needs to be done to help these people. Well, why not be the person that can try to change it? Anyone can do anything. We can all contribute to making a difference. Like, anything is possible. So that's why you know, once again with the lockdown, it was thinking, what can we do to help people? And that's why I came up with that idea, because mental health issues throughout this lockdown are dramatically increasing. Really concerned about it, actually.
Well, so when you first started Change Talks, right? The whole mission of that and the purpose of that was to really beat the stigma around mental health and bringing awareness and openness so that people felt comfortable discussing it out in the open, right?
Yeah.
Now, for me personally, I feel like we've just had Mental Health Awareness Week, right? I personally feel like awareness has been brought to mental health. There's been a huge light shone down on mental health, and it's now something that's talked about on a daily basis on all mediums of, social media, on the television, in houses. I know that there's still people who feel like they can't talk about it. I'm not saying that all the work is done on that, but I do feel like the awareness level is so much higher now, right? So now that we've got the awareness sorted, how do we start to make real positive change for people? And that's what you're doing really with the services that you're delivering. But like you said, with lockdown, things have changed so much, right? We've got people really, really, some people thriving, right? Some people are thriving, but other people are not. And what have you found to be the biggest issues cropping up with that?
I think that there seems to be an increase in suicide since the lockdown, especially mainly talking about around Lancashire here. I think that the lockdown is going to have a massive impact on social anxiety across all ages. I think people are going to be so used to, being in their four walls at home that actually when it comes back to interacting with people, it's going to cause a lot of fear. And also that links into health anxiety as well. People don't want to go near people anymore. And I do worry for the kids, how are they going to be when they start going back to school, when they've not played with other children for such a long period of time? I think it's important to try and get things in place now. And I think that the stuff that I advise or educate is things that people need to do to help themselves. There is no quick fix, which I think in society now, we want quick fixes. I think that people often can think, and this is just my opinion, by the way, people can think that medication is the answer, that some people turn to the wrong coping strategies like alcohol because it's a quick fix to help what's going on now instead of in the long term. So people need to understand that the things I educate, they need to be consistent with these type of things.
It's the same with anything and everything. I had this conversation last week on the last podcast, and that concept of people wanting that quick fix, they want the magic pill, but nothing other than self-awareness and really turning inwards and doing the work on yourself is going to get you those consistent, get you that sustainable change and result in your life.
Yeah.
It's just factual. There's no other way around it. I know you were saying that unfortunately with lockdown, like suicide is on the rise. We've got people using drugs and alcohol more. I mean, I've just been into work yesterday and been speaking to one of the staff. And she actually said, we had this conversation. She was like, I kind of wish social distancing would continue even after all this is done. I kind of like people not being that close to me. And I remember, and I understood what she was saying. There's an element of like, we've almost put ourselves in this little safety bubble. And I went for a walk and there were people coming up behind me. And I was like, why are you so close to me? Yeah. Like, why do you think it's okay to be this close to me?
Yeah. How long is it going to last for this? I think this is going to be years until everything goes back to, what is normal? What is going to be the new normal? We just don't know yet, do we?
No, not at all. So we've got a rise in suicide, a rise in alcohol and drug use. Even friends of mine who don't even drink that much are drinking every day.
Yeah.
So this is definitely happening. So people who already are predisposed to have, more addictive personalities and things are people who were already having problems. That's on the increase. I think it's worth mentioning something I hardly have heard mentioned at all over lockdown, which I think is extremely important. Domestic violence and child abuse is doubled. There were, within the first 3 weeks, twice as many people had been killed due to domestic violence. The domestic violence charities and support groups are getting twice the number of calls. They're completely overstretched. They don't have room in their shelters anymore. This is a big thing. If you can imagine, I only know because I've been in these sorts of, I grew up in a home where if I'd have been on lockdown as a child, my life would have been hell. because my only saving grace was the times that I could get out of my house. So for me, if I'd have been, 5, 6, 7 years old and on lockdown, that I don't know what I would have done with myself. It would not have been a safe environment for me. And then fast forward to being older, I've been in a relationship where there was domestic violence. And if we'd have been on lockdown for this length of time, I can't even begin to imagine. My house would be trashed. I would have been, like being with someone like that is already like, they're like a caged animal anyway, normally, and they tend to have like cyclical patterns of abuse. And mine ran on like a 3-week cycle. Well, we've been in lockdown for 8 weeks or something. So like that would have just escalated and perpetuated. It would have been a really frightening time. Obviously, I'm in a safe space now and I'm okay in my lockdown, but my heart goes out to people who are having to deal with those sorts of things. And we're all talking about testing and it's important to have antibody tests. It's important to get the economy up and running again. Yes, it is, and yes, there's people dying, and I'm not trying to downplay that, but you have to remember, for some people, their daily lives have gotten so much worse, and it's nothing to do with the virus.
Yeah. And I think just to touch on this as well, if there's anyone watching that is in a position where you are suffering with any type of abuse and you are concerned about calling somebody because your partner that is abusing you will, hurt you in some way, there's a platform called Shout. Basically, if you're in a position where you feel in danger or you want to get out the house, but you feel like you can't call anybody, just go to this platform called Shout. And it's basically a 24-hour texting service where you can text if you're in a position of danger or in crisis, and the person at the other end of this phone can ring the police for you. So it's a safer way of doing it. So just to make you aware of that.
That's great information. Thank you, Sam.
You're welcome.
I think so. Like you say, we don't know what the new normal is going to be. And obviously, I actually think that coming out of lockdown and this whole situation is a great opportunity for us to have a bit of a reset. It's a big reset button. People are being kinder. They are being more thoughtful. Yes, there are people suffering, but I think what it's done is it's highlighted to people what's really important, which is really the simple, basic things in life, right?
Yeah.
And become way more supportive. So going forward, what would you like to see as far as mental health support? Like, you're working with children, is it with children mainly at the moment?
Yeah.
So what would you like to see moving forward?
I think embedding more mental health education within schools. I think that, for me, it's focusing on education. Improved education means improved health outcomes. That doesn't just mean mental health education. We spoke about this briefly before. It's just improving education for all. But obviously my focus is mainly the mental health work. But the more that I've done this, the more that I realise that my sessions can prevent much more than mental health issues. I can prevent grooming, drug use, alcohol use, knife crime, because it's gone from teaching them about depression, anxiety, self-harm to now teaching them about drugs, grooming, abuse. And, by opening up these conversations in schools, I've had so many pupils come to me to say, this is happening to me, or this is happening to me, and I'm able to then get them support. So inevitably, if we can teach them this in schools, we can prevent mental health issues and other issues, in the long term. So I would like to see more embedded within the high school age.
Yeah, so I've got 2 questions for you then, really off the back of that. One, what is it that you see the most within that school age? You're talking like, what, about year 6 to year 12 or something like that?
The main age group I work with is 13 to 15-year-olds.
Okay. So what is it that you see the most, that you find the most disturbing and concerning within that age group that is really impacting their quality of life and their mental health?
Do you want me to answer that first? Sorry, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
The main thing that's impacting their mental health from my perspective is social media. The apps that they're using it's just unbelievable. So I'll rhyme a few off. So Yellow, Sahara, Omegle, Calculator Plus, basically all these apps are anonymous chat lines where they are talking to strangers from around the area. But what's happened on these platforms is a lot of paedophiles have accessed them, started talking to these young girls or young boys, and basically enticed them in through, complimenting them, giving them things, asking them to come and meet them in certain areas. Now, the Calculator Plus app is basically, if you was to go on your child's phone, it just looked like the normal calculator app, so you wouldn't think anything of it. What it was an app where young people were sharing inappropriate pictures of the peers to this platform, so that when you click on this app, all inappropriate pictures of people from that area would pop up. So it's really heartbreaking. But then, the main things as well, Instagram is really impacting them, Snapchat's really impacting them. They think that everything that they see online is real, which it's not. Social media is a complete false reality. We can all post stuff that I could post that I'm really happy, I could post that I'm really wealthy or whatever, and it could be complete opposite. I could stand in front of a Lamborghini and be like, "Hey guys, got a new car." Then you'd look at that thinking, why have I not got this? Why can't I afford this? Well, guess what? I couldn't afford it either because it's not even my car. They've grown up comparing themselves to, Instagram models, influencers, all these type of people. But yet these influencers, many of them have bought the likes and followers. Okay, when I started my PhD, this is what I was studying. So I actually know numerous people that have done that because I was monitoring them. I'm not going to name any names because you will know.
No, well, we all know.
Yeah.
We've seen it.
And it's sad because the young people now are comparing themselves to these type of people, thinking, "Oh, why have I not got this? Why have I not got that? Why do I not have this many followers or likes?" Because the numerical number on Instagram is really important to them. So they're then getting absorbed into likes and followers, and it doesn't matter. I could build an Instagram profile, put Sam Tyrer, public figure, entrepreneur, blog, really big myself up, buy 100,000 followers, post a selfie, buy 5,000 likes for that selfie. People will come across my profile thinking, "Oh, he must be relevant. He's got it all together." How many of them 100,000 followers that I bought care about me? None. This is not reality. So the issue is the young people are comparing themselves to all of these things that they see online, and it's not even real. Don't get me wrong, some of it is obviously real, my post, your post, whatever. But, even when I reflect back when I was younger, when I was depressed, I remember posting a picture with one of my ex-girlfriends, and we'd just gone through something quite traumatic. And I remember posting a picture of us where we looked really happy. And people look at that thinking, why do I not have a relationship like this? They look so, they look so happy. It was the most miserable time not of my life, but it was awful. We were arguing all the time because of what we'd been through. And it was like 1 minute in that day we were smiling for a photo. But yet the truth behind that picture was a guy that didn't care if he died in a relationship that was crumbling. So people don't think about that. They just think about, why do I not have this? Why do I have not that? Well, it's not real. And I think
I had exactly the same thing. I posted a photograph of a friend of mine. I was in London, and a photographer friend of mine had taken some photos for me for my website. And whilst I was there and she was taking the photographs, I had maybe the worst anxiety I've ever had. I was in an extremely toxic relationship. I was beside myself with like worry and stress, and it was also freezing cold outside. And if anyone knows me, I absolutely hate the cold, and I don't know that I could have been any more miserable, like in that moment while I was having these photos taken. And I posted one of the photos, and someone commented, "You look so like genuinely happy, like you're glowing in that photo." And as soon as I saw the comment, I was like, well, it just goes to show that a picture doesn't always tell 1,000 words, because how I was feeling in that exact moment was awful. I was dark and anxious and sad and heartbroken and all of these things. And I actually ended up writing a blog about it because of that, the false facade of what we do see on social media. You and I both know, I try and strike a balance. When I'm feeling good and I see something, I post it. And, if I'm going to post, if I'm feeling shit, I might say that I'm feeling shit and I might say why, but really it's for the purpose to let people know that it's okay to feel shit sometimes. Like you don't have to,
Yeah.
not everything is going to be okay. I'm not a big, huge fan of like Gary Vee. You know, I don't know if you know
Yeah.
Gary Vee. Yeah. But he has spent a lot of time recently putting content out about that whole thing about the likes and, you know, get that dopamine rush that you get with all the likes and the followers and everything. And it's like, just take your eyes off the numbers. Like the number of followers, the number of likes, they don't mean shit to who you are as a valuable, worthy person on the planet. Like we are all worthy.
Yeah.
All of us were born onto this planet on a level playing field of worthiness. Those numbers mean nothing. You do you, put out authentic, true content that is true to who you are, and the right people will see it, the right people will like it, the right people will engage with you, and the wrong ones, or the ones that you don't align with, will leave you alone. And so the numbers mean nothing. And if you could get that across to people, what an amazing thing that would be.
I'm not totally against social media. I think it's a fantastic tool for raising awareness for things. You know, like
Oh,
change stuff
absolutely.
that I did when I started it. You know, I use social media as a great tool, but I think that I don't often post on Instagram anymore because I start questioning myself. Why am I posting it? Am I doing it for the right reasons? I think that when you actually reflect, or anybody reflects on why they are posting stuff, are they doing it for validation? Are you doing it for approval? Or are you, because I think that, you know, it goes beyond helping people. You know, so for example, when I was started Change Talks and I started posting more and more and more, it got to the point where I started to enjoy the validation that other people was giving me, and that becomes an addiction. We all want to feel valued, and you can get hooked on that. So actually, I stopped doing it because I thought, am I doing this now because I genuinely want to help people, or am I just keeping on pushing this to try and show off on social media to get more approval from other people? So I always think when I see these mental health influencers, who would do that without social media? Are they doing it for the right reasons? Because I start, and I shouldn't question stuff like that, but that, unfortunately, this is the modern era. And I see people's posts sometimes, and I just think, what is the actual purpose of that post? And I think so
Well,
many.
it's like, it's sorry to interrupt. It's like, so obviously I used to work in the fitness industry,
Yeah,
right? Which is probably the worst for that kind
definitely.
of thing, right? We're talking like, you know, we joke and laugh about it, right? That thirsty, like, it's like
Right.
it's the booty pic
All
that
of it.
has, it's the booty pic that has the motivational speech underneath it, right?
And what a load of shit. What does a picture of someone's ass got to do with living this and living that? It's
Like, if you're going to put a picture of your ass on, I don't want the story underneath it to be about how you suffered with depression and then managed to pull yourself out of it. I want to hear that story, but I'd like it maybe for you to talk to me about it. Like maybe do a video or something and
yeah,
I'll watch it and I can
it's an art
engage
to
with it.
do
But
that.
I'll tell you why they do it. And I've done a little experiment myself on social media. Social media is a PhD on social media would be incredible, because I mean, I'm sure people have done it, but there's so much to gain from it, right? And I've done this myself, like, because obviously I've just started the podcast. I've had a blog. I put personal content out. I've just started a podcast, like Instagram page as well, an Instagram account. Sorry. I've done it where I've put out an image, right, of just either like something that I've generated, like almost like a logo type thing, and then it has content underneath it. Or if I put a photo of myself, like some kind of a selfie where, you know, I'm looking kind of cute or whatever, you know, which one do you think gets the most engagement? Is it the one that has my logo, or is it the one where, you know, I'm smiling and you can see what I'm wearing or what, I don't know. I try not to get too like, I try and keep things as appropriate as possible. I don't want to be selling myself on my body and how I look necessarily, but sometimes when I track the engagement on those two types of posts, which one do you think gets all the likes?
Yeah, it's one of yourself.
Always.
Yeah. It's
Always.
interesting, isn't it? Do you think that we live in a sort of an era where it's all about marketing ourselves? It's all about the personal brand.
I think people can connect and engage with people. Personally, that's been my experience. It's my whole purpose for this podcast, is that we connect person to person, like person to person. I might have the most incredible, like I might wake up and have this really like enlightened thought that comes to mind, and I might sit here and talk to you about it, and people will be like, that's incredible, I love that, I'm taking that away with me, I'm going to remember that, and I'm going to say that to myself and have that be like my inner mantra. But I might make a meme about it and put it on my Instagram, but because it's just a black and white photo with some words on it, someone might read it and it might like resonate a little bit, and they might like it or they might just go past it. But if I'm engaging with them and having that same insight, for some reason, people seem to really connect with that more. That's just been my experience. That isn't true for all accounts. Like I see other people on there who all they do is put memes out and people totally engage with it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the answer is.
People really need to be careful with the fact that your self-esteem and how you feel about yourself shouldn't be reliant on how many likes that you get. Because that's what I'm seeing in
100%.
schools. You know, a young girl, for example, could post a selfie and get 200 likes one day, and the next day they get 2. So they've gone from feeling really popular, they get that dopamine hit, and all of a sudden the next day the self-worth drops because they're reliant on validation and approval from others. And we can't go around being reliant on other people, because especially when they go from school, college to work. In work, you don't get a pat on the back for doing a good job. You don't get, really well done doesn't come, because they're constantly looking for that approval from others because of platforms like social media. And it's not just young people, it's all ages, isn't it? It is addictive. The likes and followers, it's made to be that way. But I think for me, I've really been challenging myself to question why am I posting stuff? Because I want to do the work to help people. I don't want to do it for the approval of others. I've really struggled recently using Twitter as much as I have done. I don't like it. I find it's a distraction from the real world, shall we say. But it is a fantastic tool for promoting stuff, so I have to do it. But the likes of Instagram and stuff, I've just stopped, because I don't know. I'm doing stuff for me. I'm not doing stuff to just show it off to others.
Absolutely. I love that. I'm exactly the same, but I very similar, you're a very self-aware person, Sam. Like there aren't many, I mean, what, you're 27 now?
Yeah.
Right. Never mind, there aren't many 27-year-olds. There just aren't that many people on the planet yet who really have that level of self-reflection where they're like, I want to help people, so I'm going to do this. Well, the number one obvious way of promoting yourself is to do that on social media in this day and age. It's the best way to get reach. It's the best way to reach as many people as possible. So like, I totally agree. It's a necessary evil. Like, and it can be our tool, it can be our friend. And I think there's a lot of positives to come from it. But for you to have that self-awareness to be like, actually, I didn't get as many likes on that. It didn't get as much reach. I wonder why. What have I done wrong? Where did I go? And you start like questioning yourself. And then you notice you're getting an actual like physiological response in your body. Like for me in particular, I can tell when I was just getting the first podcast ready last week, and then I was writing all the copy and I was getting everything ready and just being sat in front of my computer and then having to push everything out on social media. And then you're engaging with what comes in on social media and you're trying to respond to people and the phone's flashing and all of those things. Like I can actually feel like it's not anxiety, but I can feel my heart rate start to elevate. I feel like I'm being, like a little overwhelmed, or like that I'm being pulled in lots of different directions. And I feel reactive is the right word. I feel a bit reactive. Like I need to get on there and get that done. And I don't want to let it, you can like let yourself spin with it a little bit. I have seen people who I think start from a really good place. Like you say, they're starting from that place of genuinely wanting to help people. And then I've seen that where it flips and it switches into becoming a self-gratification process of where they're getting their self-worth from. And you're right, it is a really difficult balance to straddle, I think.
Nobody wants to admit it. Nobody will admit it. I'm very open about the fact that I got addicted to it. I started getting hooked to the likes and the followers. I think I'd probably say that some of my posts were for validation from people, and that's why I stopped. Because that's not why I started this work.
But do you think like in that case, then, because the work that you do is so valid, I would hate for someone like you who has this incredible message, who's constantly innovating and coming up with new ways of helping people and engaging with people, for someone like you to take a big step back and not as many people be exposed to your content and your help because it's not, because of your connection with it that way. Is that then where you can have someone step in and maybe manage that process for you so that you're not having to do all of the engagement?
Potentially, but I think that I'm always engaging, out in the public anyway. I have no interest in being in the public eye. I don't want, for me, I've actually found it really difficult because it's got a lot of media attention. I've had to do a lot of radio things, TV things, and I don't like it. I think for me, I just want to step into the background. I'm quite an introverted person now, but yet my job is probably one of the most extroverted out there. It is something that I have ummed and ahed about. Should I be using social media more to promote my message? But I'm where I want to be. I'm getting it to thousands and thousands of young people, which is exactly what I wanted to do. And going forward, the plan is to do like a train the trainer model. So I'm going to train the school staff to deliver the Change Talks programs on my behalf. So the idea then is to get it into all Lancashire and South Cumbria schools and then to sell it out to other counties. So it'll get there. I'm confident about that. The brand itself is built up very quickly. It's just very difficult to detach myself from the brand because when everyone thinks of Change Talks or they think of me, it's as one. So it's trying to remove that because I don't want that to continue. I want to get involved with other things. I don't want to be Sam Change Talks. I want to step away from it at some point.
Yeah, I understand that. So the second part of my question that I started asking ages ago, like at the moment, you're working with Lancashire Care, right, to deliver all of these programs to the schools and working in prevention. All of those things are very heavy topics, right? You're dealing with some of that stuff you were talking about with those apps that these kids are on. I've never even heard of that. And I have a 19-year-old, so that's actually really scary for me. I've never even heard of those things. I have worked in the NHS and I've worked alongside social care teams. I do know, I used to work in Burnley and, there's some serious grooming rings and things over there. I'm aware about how all of that stuff works and I've seen it. So it is really scary and I do worry for people. But what you are dealing with all of that side of things and the suicide and all of that, that's very, very heavy shit. So how do you look after your own mental health to say that you've already had your own struggles and mental fitness? I don't like the word mental health. I'm not going to lie. So maybe mental health is just a part of who we are, right? It's just one piece of the puzzle of this big person that we are, right? And it's just another part of us that we have to exercise to keep fit and healthy. So what is it that you do to really manage your own mental fitness and keeping yourself fulfilled so you're not running on empty all the time?
I think so when I'm actually delivering the school programs on a fortnightly basis, I go and see a counsellor. That's as part of work. I get all that for free. I didn't actually do that when I started for the first year because I wasn't actually aware of it. But I made sure that I have someone to go and offload to because I deal with some really heavy stuff, as we've said. Like one girl declared that her granddad had raped her to me, and that was just like, how do you cope with that? So that's one thing. Obviously, my exercise, I'm out running, swimming, or whatever every single day. That really helps me switch off, just being at one with nature, no distractions other than listening to an audio book. Mindfulness meditation, I struggle with. My mind is just constantly like bang, 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 bang. So I am trying to use Headspace a bit more, but I must admit I do struggle. And just talking about it, just talking about it to my work colleagues, talking about it to my partner, I guess that's just my strategies of coping with it. I wouldn't like to just bottle it up. I need to make sure I offload it to people. So I think it's really unhealthy just to keep it ruminating in your own mind.
No, and I've seen you at times where it's been really full on and you haven't had the people necessarily to speak to. And I could see that really getting on top of you. So I think it is really important for anyone, if you're in those situations where you're having to deal on a daily basis with quite serious, heavy, emotional, draining kind of conversations and topics, that it's important that you do have that outlet of somebody to talk to If you want a little bit of help with that mindfulness meditation, come see me, Sam. I will sort you out. I will give you a few little tips on how to do that, just to quiet your mind a little bit. But let's talk a little bit more about your exercise and your swimming, your running. Now, for those of you that don't know, Sam is an absolute crazy endurance athlete. Okay. Like next level for fun. We'll just go and run like 20 miles on the fells and maybe go for a little cold water swim at the end of it. So tell us all about that, because I know you have a huge, huge goal, your next enduro race.
Yeah, so I've got a few coming up actually. So I've got a 100 miler in November. So the aim is to win that. At the end of April, I have a 190-mile race, which is running from coast to coast, so St. Bees to Robin Hood's Bay. So that's going to be good. I'm not actually doing that one alone now. I'm doing that with my brother, which is a really good experience to share with him. So that, I don't think we're going to race it as such. We're going to try and embrace it all a little bit more. If I was doing it on my own, I'd try to race it. So I got into endurance sports. It was, so I'd quit playing, when I started Change Talks, I started playing rugby again once I overcame everything. And basically, when I started Change Talks, I realised that I couldn't be going into work with black eyes, cracked skull or whatever. So I basically started ultra running. So I got into to do a couple of different races, and then I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to do an Ironman. So I trained for an Ironman for, I think it was about 7 months. So I started swimming again. I hopped on the bike again. So for 7 months, just trained for that, and I ended up coming in the top 50. There was about 2,500 people that started, and I ended up coming top 50 in my first Ironman. And I felt like I had a lot more in me as well. I finished, I thought, I should have gone harder then. So then I've got a baby on the way. So I finished the Ironman. I thought I'll do another one this year, but obviously everything's changed. It's a lot easier to just fit running in. So I can get it. You can run anywhere, can't you? If you go on holiday, take your running shoes, you can go. So obviously I've got these races coming up now, and probably I'll focus on running for a couple of years, and I'm going to try and break a few records because I'm confident in my abilities. I think that I always struggled with self-belief when I was younger, but now in terms of endurance sports and the amount of training I do put in, I believe I can do anything in terms of the endurance world, shall we say. I'm very confident in that because I train, like I really do train, like a Friday morning I'll go in the reservoir at 5 o'clock in the morning, swim a couple of miles, jump on the fells for a couple of hours. That's all before work. Then I'll train in the evenings. I love it. I thrive off it. And I just want to consistently push myself because I feel that I'm not destined for something bigger, but I feel like I'm capable of so much more than I've already achieved. I'd love to be a professional athlete, whether that was in triathlon or ultra running. Do I think I could do it? Yeah, I do think I could do it. And, I actually feel really good saying that because when I was, 17 and a half stone, depressed, eating all the wrong things, smoking, I'd have never have thought that. But now I've just got the attitude in terms of sport that I can do whatever I put my mind to. So I feel I'm going to go race now. See you soon. I've just got myself really pumped.
I was going to say, you're super pumped.
I've never said that out loud.
Really?
Yeah. I think I struggle with self-belief in terms of other elements in my life. I talked about this on the Mental Health Family Hour yesterday. I think in terms of academia, because when I was failing everything, my friends called me thick, and that got in my head. And I think that's a belief that I still have about myself. Even though I've achieved what I have, it still makes me feel very anxious, I think. But I think in terms of the endurance sports, I don't know, I've just got this niggling feeling inside me that I'm capable of so much more. My dad's a machine, though. My brother's a machine.
Your dad is incredible. Your dad does all of these races with you.
Yeah, right? He's not doing the hundreds with me, but he has been doing, yeah.
I mean, that's incredible because, I've watched you with your fitness journey, and when I met you, you were just weight training.
Yeah.
I say just, you were weight training and that you were getting stronger and stronger and you were looking incredible and full of confidence. And then you decided you were going to do this Ironman and we were all like, yeah. and you smashed it. And I watched you training for this thing in the gym, and you were constantly out running in the fells. And I've never met anyone who's as focused and driven when it comes to like your fitness goals. Like, I know for a fact, if you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. Like, I have absolute unwavering belief in anything that you put your mind to, you're going to achieve it. You know, whether that was in your work, I've watched you, you know, there really aren't when I met you, you were still in your early 20s.
Yeah.
There aren't many men of your age who set up an entire like charity, who can go and start, you know, you've gone and sold yourself to, you know, Lancashire County Council, who've given you funding to go and deliver programs in schools to help people. All the while, you're also training for things like the Ironman, and you're putting out like public speaking events and big seminars for people. So in all the time that I've known you, I've always just known you to be someone who like has an idea, you set your mind to it, you get it done. And it doesn't actually matter how big it is. In fact, the bigger, the better. The bigger the goal, like the more excited you get about it and the more driven and into it you get. And I love that about you. It's one of the things I love the most about you. Like, you're going to smash that 190 miler, like 190 miles.
Yeah.
I ran a 5K and wanted to die the other week. Like, I can't even imagine.
So that goes through 3 national parks. So it goes through the Lake District, it goes through the Yorkshire Dales, and then the North York Moors. So it's going to be a good one. I have got a few ideas in my head. There's something called the Lancashire Way as well, which is, it's about a 300-mile loop of Lancashire. And I actually contacted the designer of it yesterday just to see if anyone's run it before. No, and he said there's something called FKT, which is fastest known time. So along all these ways, like the Pennine Way, Lancashire Way, people record the fastest known time, and you try to break that record. I don't think anyone's tried to do this yet. So I thought, do you know what? I see the signs when I go running for Lancashire Way, and I'm thinking, should I do it? I'm debating it at the moment about whether I can try and set a record myself. Why not?
Why not? If anybody can do it, you can do it. But one of the things I love most, Sam, is that like my personal belief is that we are all born onto this planet with a huge amount of potential. And I think when we're first born, we have this real openness and curiosity and zest for life, right? And then our conditioning and the things that we encounter as we're growing up, whether that's in our family lives, our friends, it's like it chips away at it and it knocks it down and down and down. And by the time we're adults, we're like this shadow version of what we actually were born on the planet to be. And we have all this like untapped potential. And I love that you've like connected to yours. And there's literally nothing you can't do. Like, I want to know when you do that 300 miler, I want you to come back. Well, I'm saying when, or like, okay. Yeah. Like, and you're coming back on here and you're going to tell us about
when I smashing
the time. Like, you're going to get the fastest time. I know it. Like, I can't, because if you didn't, you'd go back and do it again anyway. So
I just don't want to look back on my life and think, I wish I did this. You know, I want to achieve as much as I possibly. It's like a book, isn't it? You know, do you want to look at the end of your life, look back as if it was a book and think there was so much more that could have been added to it? I don't want that. You know,
no.
I want the title of my book to be like, "Fuck yeah!" You know?
Yes.
I just think I wasted. So I used to quit at a lot of things when I was younger. When I was depressed and anxious and overweight, I quit at things, I failed at things, and I have no intention of doing that now. I've just got a hunger for stuff that, you know, I do have crazy ideas, and I think now I've really reduced my social circle to be around the people that will encourage me with that, not to say, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. I haven't got time for that negativity in my life. You know, you want people that will support your ideas, even, you know, they could be crazy.
If they're mental, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to test my limits. I just want to keep going and going and going. And like you say, the bigger the idea, the more passionate I feel about it. What is my breaking point? Because I've not got there yet.
No, and I love that. I absolutely love that. And you're right. Surrounding yourself with the right people is crucial. So you're soon to be a dad. You touched on that. Like, you're about to become a first time father. You've just, you've recently gotten married. So your life has changed quite a lot. And before we started recording we kind of touched on the fact that, you're 27, you've got your career all locked and loaded. It's just going from strength to strength. You've got all of your endurance sports that you're into. You're about to become a dad, and obviously the work that you do is working delivering educational programs to kids, right? And a lot of people aren't having children quite as young anymore, but then a lot of people your age haven't achieved all that you have either. I think they're all still kind of working, trying to get. I don't feel like I've achieved what you've achieved. Different things. We've done different things.
Oh, yeah.
And our paths have been very, very different. But you're about to become a first-time dad at 27. What do you hope to see changed in the future in society around mental health education? If you've got a daughter coming into the world, and you're going to watch her grow up in this new age, like, what do you hope to see around that whole educational system and support for kids as they're getting older? What societal changes would you like to see happen?
Well, I'm referring to social media again. I think that there has to be stricter measures on social media for young people. They need to snap down on Snapchat, Instagram, because there's too many paedophiles accessing these platforms to groom kids. I think that just embedding mental health education in schools is, as I've already said, is essential, but also educating parents as well, so they have an understanding of the impact that they can have on their children by giving them social media from such a young age. I think that that's something that I really want to try to encourage as well. Teaching parents, they need to know, by giving your child a phone at such an age, these are the type of things that could potentially happen. And it's a massive challenge. It's a huge thing to take on, but inevitably I think we'll get there with it all.
That's amazing. Listen, Sam, I think we'll leave it there, just because it's a perfect ending to everything that we've been talking about. And I just want to thank you for taking the time to come on and chat with me. I absolutely love talking to you. We have the best conversations, whether it's face-to-face or message. I feel like we put the world to rights every single time.
Well, thank you for having me on. And I don't normally have a shaved head, everyone, by the way. No, I've just whipped it off. I look like a potato at the moment. Normally it's long.
I know you've got like coronavirus haircut for sure. Like, you're looking like a thug.
For hours, couldn't we? Really?
Yeah, I know. Well, I think that's the thing. So I'll put a cap on it now, but it just means that we have more to talk about in the future. So if you can just tell everybody how they can find you, how they can, sort of see what you're up to, follow what you're up to. Obviously, you're still delivering these things every Tuesday with Dave, right? So if you can.
For that, I just go to my Twitter page, so @change_talks. That's probably the best way to keep informed about it all. I'm not going to promote my Instagram because I don't really use it anymore. So just go to the Twitter. And if anyone wants to email me as well, so it's sam.tyrer, TYRER, @lancashire.nhs.uk. If anyone wants to get in touch about anything at all, then I'm happy to have a chat.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important for people to know, if there's anything that we did discuss today that's resonated with you, or you feel like that someone that is struggling with these things, there are people out there for you to talk to. It's really important to reach out. You should never be sat at home struggling alone. We are stronger together. That's the whole purpose of this podcast. It's the whole purpose of, community and humanity. So do reach out, don't suffer alone. And I just want to thank everyone for taking the time out of their day to sit with us and listen. And we hope to see you again next time. If you liked the content and you are happy to leave a review, a 5-star review, it just helps us get the podcast into more people's ears, and we can just change more lives. So thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.